Welcome to the Biscuit Book Club, where we talk with our favorite authors and yours about biscuits, books, and, well, everything in between.
Welcome to the Biscuit Book Club, y'all. We're serving up stories with Southern charm. I'm Shelley.
I'm Marcy. And this is Cori.
Cori. She is our Instagram advisor.
Yeah,
Our
I'm a part-time
social media advisor.
And coffee pal. So, yes. So Cori and I actually, and she was already on the Biscuit Book Club, the radio show, but now we're on the podcast. And we needed a guinea pet to try out to see how this works with three people. And we thought there's nobody who is a better sport than we know than Cori Lynn. So
you guys invited me back because it was just so good the first time. You're like, we've got to have it back. But
it was
if
good.
it's just testing it out, I guess I'll be okay with that too.
Well, you know what? It's always going to be a good time with you and fun listening to all the stuff that you have going. And I love when I hear your ideas and they kind of spark other ideas, so we should call you Sparky. That's what we should call you.
Yeah. That kind
Sparky
of
Lynn. Yeah. That could be your pen name.
Hey, I'm down with, listen, just call me whatever you want. Don't call me late to dinner. I know that's a cliche thing, but I really do like eating. I think I like eating as much as I like writing. Yeah, it's kind of problematic.
Yeah.
Yes. And what are you working on right now, Cori?
So right now I'm trying to finish the second book there was Hearts Under Fire and there's a second book called Hearts Everlasting. And I'm trying to finish that. About 50% of the way there with that. And then after that, I'm going to be working on a Western series with 3 books called the Cassidy Kane series. And it's going to be a Western with a genre bend because it's going to have a hint of fantasy. So the lead character will be a vigilante and female. And so she'll have a ability to see a little bit into the future during her heightened awareness because she's born during a lightning storm and there's a lightning strike. So of course that's naturally what would happen. And the idea just was what would happen if you had a superpower and you lived in the Wild West. That's kind of where that started off. So that's actually the one that's like taking over my brain right now, which has been kind of hard because I have to finish this other one and get that out first. But yeah, I'm kind of dabbling. I've been dabbling a little bit with those two things for the most part when I sit down and write.
Now, when you say you're halfway there, are you halfway through the first draft or halfway through editing?
Halfway through the first draft. So I'm about 50% there. I have it all outlined, so I know where I'm headed and how to finish it. Just a matter of actually sitting down and putting words on paper. So, yeah.
John actually was asking me about that the other day, as far as like the pantser and the plotter. So do you think that you are a plotter then, if you already have it written down and you're writing stuff out, or are you a little bit of a pantser?
Well, I know there's the tweener, which is I kind of fall in that category. I use the outline is super brief. It's like it basically says this character and this character in an attic, this character and this character discover a treasure box or whatever it is, and then once I have kind of my scenes with one line of what the scene is going to be, then I pants it all the way through the scene on what are they, because I never know what they're going to say or what they're going to do. And then if they say or do something that's like, whoa, didn't expect that, because our characters do that. I will readjust the outline following it to kind of readjust. So I look at it like Google GPS. You kind of can see when you're going to be at point A and where you're going to point B. But like if a traffic accident happens, you divert to another lane that's faster to get you to your destination. So I kind of write in that format where I give myself some freedom, but also I also have it outlined because if I don't have goals that I want to reach, my personality needs to have goals of like, okay, this many words is going to be in that chapter or that act or that kind of thing to kind of give myself an idea that the story is pacing well throughout. Because I think for me, the hardest part on editing is going back and fixing a bunch of stuff. So if I can kind of lay a little bit of the groundwork to not have to worry about fixing pacing, then I can focus on, well, does that make sense? Does that character and what they said make sense? Would they have actually done that? Is the story arc looking good? Things like that.
Well, and then, I mean, I'm not a fiction writer, but I would imagine with a 3-part series too, just trying to keep track of all of the threads.
Yeah.
Like I know when Guidepost has a series come out, they have different writers write for some of the series. They have to be so careful to say like what has happened, what she put her suitcase down, she left her suitcase in the car. The next book can't be like, and her suitcase was in the basement. I mean, it has to, like, how do you keep track of all those threads? And then also, especially if it's going to be a 3-part series, how many of those threads do you think, okay, we'll pick that up later?
Well, I hadn't, the book I'm working on now was a sequel that I had not planned to write. So my approach on that was a little bit different. I'm like, okay, I've already written book one. That's already set in stone. So I can't change certain things. So now on book two, I have to try to work within those boundaries. With Cassidy Kane, I was actually pitching it to an agent at one point who was interested. And her comment to me was, I want to see a book synopsis for book one. So of course I'm like, hey, why don't I give her a book synopsis for all free? Because why not? So in doing that, what was kind of cool is I was able to kind of do those one line outlines for my scenes. And the neat thing is that, like you said, Marcy, there's in books 2 and 3, there's going to be things that are happening that were based on what happened in book 1, because it's a progression. If she's a vigilante, she's getting closer and closer to having her secret found out as the book goes on. And then she's got a subplot romantic slow burn romance that goes throughout the book. So now you have to pace her and her love interest so that they're kind of going up and down throughout each book as well. So by outlining all three, I was able to kind of say, okay, I could put a twist and turn here, I could put a twist and turn there, and then I can tie it up over here. So you look at it almost the way I've done it is, and I don't know if this is right, but the way I've done it is I've said, okay, book 1 is like act 1, book 2 is like act 2, and book 3 is like act 3. So it's almost like one big book is how I sort of looked at it. But Shelley, I don't know if you have other thoughts on this, because I know you write fiction as well. So if you have other thoughts on how you would have approached it, I'd love to hear those too.
Yeah, I haven't written a series so far, so I'm really interested in what you're saying. But I have friends that have.
I'm winging it. I don't even know like half the stuff I do. I don't have I don't have an agent to tell me or a publisher to tell me here's how it's been done. Being indie published,
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh, that sounds good. Let's try it, And then I just kind of do this and hope it works.
It sounds fun. I'm really excited about that series.
Mhm.
And one thing, my friends that write series,
Mhm.
they struggle with names. Like, what was his name? Or do you have a plan on how you're going to organize names?
That's my favorite part, actually, is creating character profiles. So
Okay.
I use a lot of Google Docs, and my outline is in Google Sheets. So that way, if I'm out and about, I can make notes. Or if I'm watching a TV show, sometimes I'll get an idea like, hey, that guy did a scavenger hunt for that lady's birthday. That's cool. I want my characters to do that. I can just open my phone and make a note, scavenger hunt for these 2 characters, so I won't forget things like that. And what I've done is I went on Midjourney and I created inspirational photos with like AI to kind of give myself an idea of what the character would look like. And then I created profiles for each of them. So it has their name, their age, the meaning of their name. Because to me, I pick names that have a meaning that goes with the personality, if I can. And so I look up the meaning of the name. And in Cassidy Kane, they all start with K. All the characters, the brothers and siblings, they all start with K, and their names equate to what they are. If Kyler is the sheriff, his name has something to do with like, I think his name means archer or something, which to me is like somebody who uses a gun, could translate that way. Keaton means fiery, and he's the young one and has the personality, so he's high spirited, and that fits with him. And then what I do is I took this tip. Actually, I have to give credit to Sarah Sundin for this tip. I overheard her say this, that she does this, is I took each of my characters did personality tests with the free personality tests online.
Yes.
And I found out, are they an ENSFJ or whatever those numbers are? And then I went into Google and I said, okay, if this is this for the guy and this is this for the girl, what are the pros and cons of somebody who'd be in a relationship romantically with these 2 personalities? And it would tell me, okay, they're going to argue over this, but they're going to get along over that. And then I went a step further because I was just, like I said, I love this part. And I said, okay, which other characters in the book will this personality conflict with? And the neat thing about that is I found out that my lead, Cassidy Kane, she is not going to get along with her older brother's love interest very well. And that's in the first book. So I thought, why not have his love interest find out about her secret first? And then we get to decide, is she going to keep that secret or is she going to out her? You know? And so it gives you the ability to kind of one, better understand your characters when you're writing them. But two, it gives you like those ideas of like, man, I can really stir the pot here because I know that's going to rub this character the wrong way if we do this. So that's probably more explanatory than the names thing that you asked, but
I
I do
love it.
get obsessed with like character profiles. And so that's all built out. And I can go back and look at that at any time and be like, oh, her hair was blonde. Oh, she, doesn't appreciate when somebody steps on her toes, things like that.
Love that. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
And
Did you
I have done,
What
I've
was
done
that?
the personality trait for my characters, but I never thought about like putting them in there and saying what problems, like how would their personalities conflict.
Well,
So
what
I
you can
love
do in
that.
Chat GPT is you can actually go in and it'll say, okay, I did this for Hearts Everlasting, my book I'm writing now, because I wanted to find out more about my male and female lead, and they're opposites, and I knew that. And so
Uh-huh.
it will go in and it'll say, would you like me to tell you what the love languages are for these people and how those love languages relate? And I was like, oh, sure, why not? And so
Okay.
it literally told me that their romantic chemistry was going to be, it put a fireball. And then it said their communication chemistry is moderate to high. And so it literally told me, hey, these two particular personalities you're writing, this is going to be perfect for romance because you're hitting all the marks on the love languages here, here, and here. So like if Ethan is in my book, he's a service, he's an acts of service, and April is words of affirmation. And so their discussions and communications and getting to know each other are going to, like, when you have that third party breakup or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be over a miscommunication on how they express that love to one another or that interest to one another. So it will even allow you to go that far in making it accurate. Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
great. Yeah.
that's good. I
Yeah,
love that.
we hear about negative parts of AI and we hear about negative things about technology, but I think that people don't understand that it is a tool, just like a leaf blower is a tool.
Yes.
It's not going to do, like it's not going to outsource rakes, but it's helpful when you need it. And so I just feel like for you, using AI is a great tool. It's not writing your book, and that's the thing. Some people just say, AI is writing these books and they're terrible. I'm like, okay, but that author doesn't know what they're doing. That's why they have AI
Right.
to take care of everything. So,
Well,
but
and
you're
like,
doing well.
here's a question for you. If Cassidy Kane is a vigilante and she was struck by lightning and she's living in 1888, she can't just see into the future for all three books and have people be like, okay, we're not tired of that by book two. So I needed her to be able to develop, like any superhero movie, she would need to develop other ways to use her gift. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, okay, if you wrote a book that was a Western in this time frame, and that character's secret power was that they had basically, like, think of them like a magnet. Like electromagnetism is something that moves our world and it revolves around our world. And magnets are heightened by metal. And there's a lot of mining towns next to Prescott for copper, silver, gold, the whole deal. So I put in, here's where my character is basically dealing with where she's living and the time she's living. What kind of additional weapons could be created that she could use out of the materials of the time and the knowledge of the time? And it literally gave me 5 weapons. And it said, based on Tesla and Edison and metal and wire and all these things, she could create gloves that had wire in them that could attract a gun. She could, have a stick that sparks. And then you're going with this whole superstition, because back then they're like, if it's weird, we don't want to touch it. And then you're freaking them out by superstition. So it gave me 5 different weapons without me having to go do, pick up a chemistry book or a science book and say, how would this work? Because like you said, Marcy, it's a tool to save time. And since it is, fantasy or magical realism, if you will, you have a little bit of a wiggle room, but you still kind of want it to be a little bit believable based on elements of life. And so when ChatGPT, gave me all that information, it saved me hours and hours of research or making stuff up in my mind on what she could use for her weapons.
Yeah. Where would you even go for that kind of
Right.
information?
Yeah. Right. So, and it's kind of cool because, in book 2, we got a con artist who comes to town and she's conning people and getting money based on body language, and there's authors out there that have offered to read body language for me and say, okay, this is what she might be seeing to con them better. But then you can also go to ChatGPT and say, hey, does this, is the most revealing part about the body? Well, it's the feet, and then you can kind of play with that a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely a tool, I think, that can help authors maybe feel more confident in their writing. And I've used it too with my 1940s scenes. I've gone to chat and I've written the scene. So it's my writing. And I've said, if this dialogue was to be changed in any form or fashion to better reflect 90s language, what would those sentences sound like? And then I can get a better idea of like how to write my dialogue more accurate to the time. Because I've seen reviews where readers are like, oh, that's too modern language, and they wouldn't have said that. And so it can also help in that sense, which is to maybe make your book or story a bit more accurate.
That's great. Because I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that if you've gone to a movie that is set in a time period and then you hear a word that would not have been used during that time, it kind of ruins the scene. Even if it's just one word while they're waiting to go into the movies or something, and you're like, they wouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
No.
like Cassidy Kane's not walking around going, "What's up, bruh?"
Yeah.
Like it's just even if they are her brothers, she's not talking like that. So, it to me, it's just given me a sense of. It's another thing too is like authors are in the Christian fiction community are super supportive of one another, and they love to share the information that they've gleaned with others so that they can be better, right? But if you don't have that resource of having an author friend who can just drop whatever they're doing in a minute and give you the answer you need, that ChatGPT or Google or AI or whatever can help get you those answers quicker so you can do your project without having to wait on somebody else. And then maybe they can come behind ChatGPT and look at it and say, oh yeah, I agree with what that said.
Yes.
So yeah, if you can use it as
Just
a tool.
double check. You do need to double check the information. It's not always accurate.
Yeah. And I will say the only thing that annoys me, and I've seen this posted on Facebook by other authors as well, is the M dashes. They always say, well, you can tell somebody's written their book through ChatGPT because of the M dashes. And so those of us who use M dashes, even just a little bit, are kind of like, but I already used them. It's not
I
ChatGPT.
know.
I just love an M dash, And
Yes,
so
I'm
it
like,
does make people think.
I know I've caught myself using them less because I heard that too. I'm like, I don't want anybody to think AI wrote my book. So
I literally did a search
maybe
for
I
M
shouldn't use
dashes.
it where I normally would, but I love M dashes.
Well, so have you gone through and done a search for M dashes and then like I literally went through and said, I only want one per chapter, or, I like wanted to reduce it to the point, like what you're saying is, I don't want to give anyone the indication that I wrote that I did not write this. And so I literally went through and searched to remove to a specific percentage so it wouldn't feel like anybody would make that perception.
Yes. I don't think I use them as much as I probably don't use them that much, but I use them in my newsletter sometimes or email or whatever. It's just like, it belongs here.
Now, let me ask you ladies a question. You brought up email, and I know emails can get read. Being in marketing, which is my full-time job, I noticed that there's a very low open rate on emails. It's lower and lower all the time. I know author newsletters probably get read at a higher rate than maybe my credit union's email list does. But our CEO was always saying, send out an email, send out an email, send out an email. And that takes a lot of time to do. And so we would use ChatGPT to write our emails to help get them done quickly and with good spelling and all that stuff. What is your take on using ChatGPT to write your newsletters and emails and things like that for your followers? And like, is that a gray
I,
area, or how do you guys feel about?
It just gave me a great idea.
Yeah.
I just sit down and write my newsletter. I feel like I've used that they would know it because I've been doing it for a while now. It's just in my voice. People may be like, "Oh, why'd she say it that way?" But that's how I talk. And so I think if I'd done it that way, people would know it. So yeah, I just use my, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm saying. And I have a 60% open rate.
Good.
Right now I'm happy with that.
Marcy,
What
do you
about
have
you?
a thought?
I just sent out a newsletter. It was the first time in a very long time that I had sent one out because I've been doing the digital magazine. I have to say, I think that we've been using it. I think we've been using Chat GPT or some AI for a long time because Grammarly
Right.
they'll say, oh, it should be, have you considered this sentence? And so sometimes it'll be like, yeah, but, or not like that. But I mean, at least it stops it and you think about
Mm-hmm.
it. Or sometimes you're like, oh, yeah, why didn't I put that? Or, yeah, I did repeat myself twice. I'm an article writer. And so a lot of times I will have a transcription of an interview I've done, and then I will bring it over to a Word document and then start sectioning it off. Like, how do I want this to go so that I can keep some of their exact words intact? But in a way, that's is AI because I have put in the WAV file, or I've done it on my phone, I've transcribed it, or I have Happy Scribe do it, and then I've moved it over. So I feel like we do use AI in some ways already to help us be
Oh,
better
yes.
writers.
Yes.
Well, and I'm going to totally annihilate my own reputation here a little bit for anybody who watches this by saying that a lot of people who follow me online will say, "Hey, you're pretty funny," or maybe they meet me in person. They're like, "Hey, you're pretty funny." So naturally, I tend to be have a comedic element to my writing or my approach online. But I will tell you, with as many birthday posts as come up on Facebook, like this person has birthday, and then they suggest that stuff that you should say, like your smile, it's your birthday, all that stuff. If it's somebody who I feel like I've written a birthday message before, or I really want to like make their day, I'll go into ChatGPT and be like, what would a comedic mentor or mentee write their author mentor to celebrate their birthday? And I'll be like, give me 5 really witty and funny things they might say that have to do with writing. And then I'll compile that and then paste it as their birthday message, because sometimes you just don't have the funny bone in you. And sometimes, like I said, I'm totally blowing my reputation here because people are gonna be like, did she really write that? But yeah, I'll sometimes use it when I'm communicating with people on social media, like leaving a comment, because I don't always have a line ready to go, but I also still want to make them smile. So I've actually used ChatGPT in suggesting that kind of stuff too.
Well, you always make me smile, Corey.
Well, most of it, like
You're
90% is authentic. 10% of it, you might have to be like, "Hmm,
on your off day.
yeah."
But really, when we go to the Hallmark store and we pick out a card that says just the right thing, what's the difference?
Yeah.
True.
Someone else is
Besides
right.
$7 plus
I
shipping.
like the way you think. And I also like, cause I can go in there and say like a little thing about that person that I know that we have an inside joke, and I can say, insert this inside joke,
Yes.
And so it will kind of put it in there. And again, I have it give me 5 suggestions, because usually I take them all and I mix them together to make whatever my final piece would be. But I think the end goal for me is I love making people smile. I love collaborating with my fellow authors online and the community and working with them. But sometimes, like you said, Marcy, sometimes you're just sitting in your couch in your pajamas all day long, and you're like, I just don't have the energy to say the happy birthday I want to. So chat, tell me what I should say.
Which brings up another
Oh.
point that, and I know we're going into we're at past the 25 mark, but I think that what you said, we're sitting in our pajamas, working on stuff. And I think that people have a different life of writers, but the fact that writers, we do need each other. And I think as far as Christian writers too, I've been to places where they weren't Christian writers and they would say, what are you working on? They'd be like, why do you want to know? Like they're so protective. And now it's like, oh, I'm working on this story. It's about communicating better with your spouse after driving in the wrong side of the road for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm like, oh, if I tell Shelly, she'll write the same exact thing. She's not. We know that we write for the same dad. And so we are just equally excited for each other authentically, but we do actually really need each other. And I loved it. Cori, you and I met a long time ago. You were in Arizona. I would see you sometimes in California. But then when you moved here, it was just so great to see each other in person. And then Shelly and I and you got to go to the studio together and have lunch. Like, I think we shut down First Watch. Like, they were
Yeah.
it's just
Like, we close at
They're
2.
bringing in dinner.
The thing is like, it's what you said. It's so true. Like, I can tell you guaranteed I would not be writing if it weren't for meeting other writers. I can tell you
Yes.
guaranteed I would have given up. And the thing is I have a very supportive family. Like, they're one of the most supportive family and friend groups anybody could have in encouraging you to write. But yet without my writer community, I would have given up because nobody understands you as a writer like another writer. Because they don't understand imposter syndrome. They don't understand self-doubt. And maybe they understand those in general terms, but not when it comes to producing a work that you've spent hours and hours and hours on. And then
Yes.
just getting that encouragement from somebody that, hey, don't give up. Hey, And as far as sharing each other's work, I think the thing is that I'm not passionate. Like, I'm passionate to read what Shelley's written because I love reading, but I'm not passionate enough to write that story. Like, God gives us, I think, passions for the stories that we write. Because I've been concerned about sharing Cassidy Kane stuff. Like, well, would somebody be like, hey, that's actually not a bad half idea? And since Cori seems to drag her feet with getting books out, I could totally churn that out right away. But the truth is like, I don't think that they'd have the same passion about those characters to want to sit down
Yeah.
and really steal that idea. So I think
Um,
that's another piece of it too, is just I've tried writing other people's stories and I'm not good at it, you know,
mhm.
for movies, for film. And I think that that's another piece of it too.
Well, and I
Yeah.
loved it that you said, Marcy, I just came across this story and I want to talk with you about it because you would be a good one to write the story. And so I just love it that we also look out for each other and we think, okay,
Mhm.
that would be a good resource for her or
Yes.
whatever. Shelly and I were talking about a book on adoption and
Okay.
she's like, I need to get that because my main character is adopted. And I
Yes.
was sharing with her this book that I had read from a gal that I met at the writers conference and how much I loved it. And she was like, oh, that's a great resource for me. So I
Yep.
think that the Lord does weave us together so that we can build each other up.
We want to see each other succeed. And I think the thing is I talked to you guys. I'm teaching at the Going Deeper conference in April, and I'm going to be talking about Instagram and social media. And the one thing I'm really going to push is this idea of collaboration, because in our community, we're not competitive, we're collaborative. And I think we need to
Love
be
that.
more collaborative to make a bigger dent on an online, because otherwise we just become part of the noise and we feel like we're on our own. And when we
Yes.
collaborate with other people, we reduce the amount of content we have to make. We allow our reach to be expanded, and we increase our engagement. Even with just those 3 things, if that was it, it's worth collaborating. And I don't
Right.
care if you're a bookstagrammer and an author. I don't care if you're fiction and nonfiction. Find something to collaborate on to make a bigger
Yes.
dent with creating something that stops the scroll, right?
Yep.
We want to stop the scroll. So find a way to create a collaborative opportunity with people, create an interesting video. You don't have to be in the same state anymore, and then post it online and you'll see a tremendous difference in your growth and engagement.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're not competitive. We're
Collaborative.
collaborative. I love that. Quote of the day.
Yep,
Yes.
that's the quote of the day. Well, thank you so much, Cori, for being our guinea pet
you.
today as we are diving into a 3-part interview. Visual.
Yeah.
Hey,
Our first one.
listen, I'm always happy to talk to you guys when, when you call up and you say jump, I say how high. You know, have me back whenever. I love talking to you guys.
Well, and John
Thank
told me,
you.
he goes, well, tell her she's still welcome over if she's all by herself and she needs to come over for dinner, you just let her know. So I'm like,
Well, if you guys end up with power this weekend because of the snow and I end up without it, I might be saying, hey, do you guys have heat? Can I come over
yeah,
and share your heat?
yeah, I've got a guest room. I've told you, biscuits are hot, coffee's fresh.
All right, I'm down. Just count me in.
So,
Yeah.
well, Shelley, do you want to close us out with?
Yes. Until next time, keep reading and keep it cozy, y'all.
This has been the Biscuit Book
Bye-bye.
Club.
Thank
We've
you,
enjoyed
Cori.
talking with you, Cori. Thanks. Bye,
Bye, ladies.
Shelley.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Stay warm. Okay, well,